Hello, welcome to my channel and welcome to my website. My name is Daryl and this is Programming in Any Language. The website is www.black-duck.com. It's where you'll find all my videos organized in a logical order. This is a video where it becomes very obvious that preparing an app as a 2D array makes the addition of the third dimension possible. Without taking this step by step, you really could have a mess on your hands. There are a lot of minor changes to make in this program, although they're not difficult. Wherever the 2D array was used now has to be modified to work with the 3D array. Still, this is much easier now because we have the 2D array working. That won't change. All we need to do is accommodate the third dimension. This is a lot easier to view, so let's take a look at the video. Okay, we're going to take our 2D array and we're going to turn it into a 3D array. How are we going to do that? It's fairly easy, but it's tedious because you've got a number of little changes to make inside your program. So let's take a look at this and see what we're going to do. Look at my form design, and it looks like this. We've got everything set up the way we had it before. We do have this year and this fourth generation combo box sitting up here, which we're going to ignore today, right now. We're going to look at the combo box right here, though. This combo box, if we look at the properties, in fact, if we look at Toolbox, it can be gotten by simply going to your common controls and bringing up the combo box. This is right here. That's exactly what we have here. Combo box is nothing more than a text box that has a bunch of items in it. So it's another array, really, is what it really is. And the combo box, I'm going to close this off. When we get to it, we can go into the properties, and we haven't done anything to these properties except for naming it combo year, CMBYEAR, for a name we can use in code. And we've did some adjustments on how we're going to format it, but the collection is the big piece we're looking at here. And what I've gotten here is you click on the collection, and typically it's got nothing in it. When you click on it, you can put in anything you want. And in my case, I put in the years that we're going to be using. I want to create this third dimension, 10 different years. And so we're going to have a 10 for our third dimensional array. We're going to have a two-dimensional array within a 10-dimensional process. So we're going to have all the cells in a two-dimensional array times 10 is basically what we're going to be creating out. So 2020 through 2029 is what I selected to put in here. I simply type them in, and that's what our combo box will bring up. And it'll allow us to then point to any one of these years that we're looking at here. So I'm going to set OK on this and leave it go. And what we're going to do now is we're going to look at the code. In order to work with a two-dimensional array, three-dimensional array, we need to increase it. So we're going to go right here at the top, and we're going to actually add that extra dimension by hitting enter there and hitting in CONST, and we're going to create an integer called years. And we're going to make it equal to 10. That's going to give us our number of years, or sets. Sets, we call them, it's a word I made up, or it's maybe somebody's using that, I don't know, but it sounds like a good name for it. So we got our 10, our 3, and our 4 here is our two-dimensional array, and our 10th being right up here. We also need to go into this thing and set that extra comma in here, so we've got the two-dimensional array, and go in here and actually put in years, comma. And now it's happy. We've established the array. The next thing we need to do is we need to actually create a pointer for that year. So we're going to go in here and say int YEAR. And that's going to be, it's going to holds current year displayed. Our two-dimensional array is going to be showing there all the time, but it may have 2021 in it, 2022, 2023's data in it, for that nature. This combo box is going to tell us what that is. And that's all we need to do. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look down at the form load section. Oh, I do want to change this. I'm going to go ahead and change this thing right now. And we're going to make a major change on this thing. Not a major change, but we're going to think a little bit better. I want to, instead of using my 2D stuff in there, I want to call it my 3D stuff. But rather than putting that name in here, I'm going to create a variable to hold that piece. So we're going to put that above the array right here. And we'll put it below. Put it after the year piece right here, and we're going to say string, and we're going to say str file name is going to be equal to my 3D stuff. .txt, and put our quote in there and a semicolon, and this is going to name of file. Very quick, I'm simply going to go down here and take this str name here, do a Control C to copy it, and lay it inside here. And also do that with the other two places that we're actually using it, which is right here and down here. Oops. There it is. That's all fixed. Pop this back in place. As we go up, we probably did that to the other name change. Yep, here it is. Open file. And we're good up here. You might have seen a bunch of errors as we're going through, scrolling through. That's because we made some changes to the array, and everywhere the array is being used now is going to show us an error because we have 3 elements inside our array now, and everywhere else it doesn't have those elements. So we need to go ahead and make that change. And we'll do that with form load initially. So I'm going to go down here with form load, and all I have to do basically is make this a 3-dimensional initialization routine. And we do that by adding the 3rd element in here. And we also need to change this. So we need to pop in this thing and create an extra element in here. So first thing I'm going to do is actually create the nested loop. We're going to have 3 nested loops in here now. So I'm going to go in here and say for int h is equal to 0. H is less than years. IntelliSense picks that up for some reason. And my braces. What I want to do is I want to grab this data here that I've got this nested loop here. I want to do a Control X on it and lay it inside here. So now it's part of this loop. Oh, the parentheses is missing. So we're looking at H, which is going to be our years. We're going to increment through those things. So we're going to look at the first year, then look at the row, and then all the columns in that row, then the next row, and then finally go back and change the year to the second year and go through this thing and actually increment and fill with 0 the array. But notice the array needs to be increased as well. So we need to put the H comma in here, and that gets rid of the error. So now we can actually initialize the 3x4 array, which is what, 12 elements times 10, which is 120 different elements we'll have in this file. So that's what we're going to actually be doing. Now it needs to be done across the board. So since we did that, our display grid is going to change as well. It's going to be displaying just 2 items in there, the row and column piece, in what particular year. It needs to go to that array and find out which year it's going to be going into. So we need to actually go ahead and put something in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in the year here. So I'm going to type in the word year. Before I do that, once we've got this initialize array routine done, we need to take a look at the form load piece. And the form load piece has to look at what year we're dealing with as well. So this form load piece is not good on its own. It's going to display a grid, it's going to do all this kind of stuff. We need to not only initialize the array, but before that, we need to find out what year we're actually working with. Or at least we need to set up a parameter that's going to give us that. Remember up here we established this int year, which is going to hold the current year displayed. Well, we want to, then something not being used right now. We want to make it used, so we're going to set it to look at the first year, which is going to be 0. That's our 2020 that we've got out there. So I need to go into the initialize array right above it, and actually go into here and say I want my combo year dot selected index to be equal to 0. So I'm looking at the first one. This is just like a set to first year. The combo boxes are just like list boxes. They've got a bunch of things in there. Always start with 0. So you've got this index that's going to be associated with them. So that index pops up all the time. So anytime you have something that has multiple things in it, you've got that initial. You got to have that index piece going in there. So our combo year index is going to be set to 0. So it's automatically going to be looking at 2020. We don't require the user to click on it at that point in time. We're going to click on it by setting it up to look at the first one. If the user changes it, that's fine. So we need to go into our year here and say our year, this is that variable we set up on top here, is going to be equal to our combo year selected index. And this sets the value of year. So with that in place, we now can go down and apply year to this array here. We'll be using that particular variable, the year variable, and popping it into here, so we've always got it. So display grid is always going to display the row and column and the year that we're looking at. So we'll type in YEAR column here, and then we're going to do a copy paste so we don't have to do a lot of typing. Control C, and just go down the line here and bang, 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 and go through this. And that includes that our display grid is all set. So now it's going to display those row and columns according to the year that we're actually pointing to. Next thing we want to do is we want to drop down to our button lock routine. Oh, right, wait, we can do button load. Let's go to load our file. Let's do that thing. We're sitting right here. We have an error here. So our load file routine is also going to need the extra element here. What are we going to call that extra element? Well, we're going to need another parameter. So we're going to set one up, and we're going to call it int z is equal to 0. And this will be our initialize year counter. We then pop down in here, and we add the z piece to it. Z, comma. Now it's in place. Guess we can leave it like this. Now we need to actually change this piece right in here. We need to add that piece. So we're looking at rows right here, increment columns. We're looking at rows. We need to add the z point, the year in here right away. So we started out with a y equaling 0. So our amounts are going to be, and so is x, y, and z. So amount 0, 0, 0 is going to be into the first file or first item it reads in the text file. Is going to pop in there. Then we're going to increment the column to 1. We're going to look at the second column in that first one, then the third, then the fourth. Once y is greater than or equal to the columns, we're going to be increasing x. So x is going to get its little process here. But we need a little check on x now, because this is fine for row and column. But once our x has increased and gotten beyond where we're actually working, we want to be able to ask it, do we have to change years? So we're going to say if x is equal to, greater than or equal to rows, we want to be able to do a parameter here. X is greater than or equal to rows. We want to apply this in here. What's going to happen? Well, we're going to say x is equal to 0. We're going to say z is y is equal to 0. And we're going to say z is equal to z plus 1. And that's all we need to do. That's going to allow us to increment the years. We don't have to worry about z getting any too large, because we're looking at end of stream here. And since our program is creating the text file and our program is reading the text file, there's no manual intervention involved. So we're not adding any extra things in here. If you were going to write a program that someone else could actually be adding data into the text file, then you might want to check to see that if you've actually gone beyond the bounds of the array. We won't here, because we're going to be reading only the file that the save routine has actually created. We're going to go into the save routine and fix that thing as well as we do that. So this should work just fine. The load piece is going to work fine. We're closing the file. We're done. We display the grid. That's all been checked. We now need to go a little bit further here and go into our see where our next piece is, and that's in our button save routine. You can see that thing's been changed. So we need to go into here. And obviously we're missing a parameter here as well. And again, we're going to use the double loop piece. So what we need to do is we need to actually go ahead and add that third nested loop piece and go in 4, and we'll give it another one. We'll go at int h is equal to 0. H is less than columns. No, actually it's less than years. And semicolon h plus plus, and increase it. And then we put in our braces, and that puts that in place. We take this entire piece now, Control X on it, and lay it into here, and now it's sitting in place. Years, rows, columns, what we're dealing with. All we gotta do is add the piece into here, and we're gonna add the H. And now it's looking, we're saving that stuff. So the load will now read the file that the save has created for us. So that should work out fine. We're successfully writing it to box, so we're in good shape there. Anything else we need? Any other errors we see in here? Yeah, a bunch in the button lock piece right now. So we go down to button lock. We're going to be clicking on the 2D array, but But the 2D array actually has 3 parameters that it's looking at right now. One of those consists of the year. So all we need to do is look at the current year that's involved in here, this thing. So again, we'll type in YEAR, comma, and pop that in. And we can go through this then and add the year piece into each one of these. By now you should be able to see why I like to do this in stages, creating that 2D array first, because it can get awfully messy if you try to do it all at once. And doing it this way, you're dealing with one dimension at a time. And ours are gone. So now that's in good shape. So we're looking good. The only thing we're missing right now is how do we change years? We change years by, let's double check and make sure we don't have any errors here. We don't seem to. We're coming in at 0 year, so we've got that in place. But we need to go into our form design, and we want to create an event, a change event for the combo box. And the combo box's default event is the change. So we'll double click on this, and it creates a combo year selected index change. All we need to do here is say year is equal to combo, I got a minus sign, equal to combo year selected index. And that will, then we go ahead and display the grid. And that takes, let's go ahead and put a nice comment in here and say change year pointer, and then right down here display grid. And that's it. That should make this thing work for us. So let's take a look. If we got any errors, let's scroll down here real nicely, and I don't think we do. We're in good shape here. I do want to show you, I'm going to do a file save, and before we do this I want to jump in and actually look at the bin/debug folder. I'm going to grab this guy right here and hope I'm in the proper sandbox. Double click on this, double click on the bin, double click on the debug folder, and all we have is my 2D stuff out there. We don't have the my 3D stuff out there because we haven't run this program. So when we first run it, it's going to automatically create the my 3D stuff. We can make changes to it, whatever, and I'll be able to show you the difference in this guy as we go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and double click on this thing because I want to bring up the text file, and there it is. The text file sitting right there. Let's close this off and this. Okay, so we got that in place. Now I'm going to pull this off to the side. I'm going to kind of leave it here and then go into this and go ahead and run this program. So I'm going to run it by hitting start. Hopefully we don't have any errors and this will pop up properly. You never know. It came up just nicely. And you can see it's showing the 2020 right here. It's showing the default year that we're looking at. The load file, save file, unlock grid, all that stuff is sitting right here. I can actually go in here now and I can do an unlock grid, and I can start putting things in like 10.2 and maybe a 5 and then maybe a 14.3 and a 5, and that's it. And lock the grid, and then maybe change the year to maybe 2021. And notice a different array pops up, or a different segment of that array pops up here, and I can unlock that grid. And I can put in, let's make it real simple so we know we have bigger numbers in here. 99.3, 44.2, 105.3, and 106, no, 10, how about 100? Just leave it like that and lock that grid. And now you can see it's done the math. Our 2021 showing. We can go ahead and back out of this thing, and there it is. Go back to 2021 and we can find that year. If we want to go out all the way up to 2029, that array exists, but it's got nothing in it. We haven't made any changes to it. I can now save the file, and its file is successfully written to disk. Now let's take a look at that. I'm going to go back to this combo box I had. Let's go ahead and exit this program real quickly and bring up our notepad file, and I want to bring up our folder too, where did I put that thing? It's right here. Notice my 3D stuff is sitting here now. I can double click on this and open that file up. And you'll notice, side by side with my 2D stuff, my 3D stuff has a lot of stuff in it. There's the first year, here's the second year, and we scroll on down, all kinds of years are sitting in there. But nothing's in them at this point in time. Go to 2D, it only created just that, the 3x4 array. The 3D stuff has created 10 3x4 arrays, and the data is now safely stored there. You can see where this can be a little crazy if you're trying to hang on to this data and find it, but it's working. This is actually working fine. So close this off, close this off, and look at our program once again. And our save file, our lock grid, all that stuff looks the same. We've got this piece. What we haven't done is this. That'll be our fourth dimension array, which we'll make a change to, and we'll see how complex that gets in the next video. Okay, what might have been confusing is that throughout the 99% of the video, all we concerned ourselves with was the first year. It looked like we were always pointed at the year index 0. Actually, we were just pointing at whatever the index might be. Initially, we established it at 0 so the program could start. And unless the user changes the year, we stay at year 0. But when the program was complete and you could see it in action, the combo box change event was the key to letting us use the full 3-dimension in this array application. The 4D array will be similar, but we'll be using a lot more data. Again, the step-by-step approach makes this manageable. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to use the website for easy access to all my videos. And if you get a chance, please subscribe. That way, you'll be notified when something new is available. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.